Alright, Federal Railroad Administration Track and Rail Infrastructure Integrity Compliance Manual, Volume 2, Track Safety Standards, Chapter 1, Track Safety Standards, Class 1 through 5. This skips Part 231, Subpart G, which is Class 6, which I'll read in a different section, but this will take care of Part 231, or 213. Title 49, CFR Part 213. Federal Railroad Administration Track Rail Infrastructure Integrity Compliance Manual, Volume 2, Track Safety Standards, Chapter 1, Track Safety Standards, Class 1 through 5, January 2014. Alright, let's see if I can get closer. Chapter 1, Track Safety Standards, Class 1 through 5, Introduction, Subpart A, General Scope of the Part, Application, Accepted Track, Responsibility, Compliance, Designation, Qualified Person, Supervise Certain Renewal, Inspection Track, Classes of Track, Operating Speed Limit, the Restoration, Renewal of the Track, Under Track, for conditions measuring track are not under load, Application Requirements for the Curve Track, Penalties, Waivers, Information Collection, Subpart B, Roadbed, Scope, Drainage, Vegetation, Subpart C, Track Geometry, Scope, Gauge, Track Alignment, Curves Evaluation, Speed Limitation, Evaluation of the Curve Track, Runoff Track, Surfaces, Combined Track Alignment, Surface Deviation, Subpart D, Track Structure, Scope, Ballast, General Cross Ties, Gauge, Restraint, Measurement Systems, Effective Rails, Rail End Match, Continuous Welded Rail, Plan Review, Approval, Continuous Welded Rail, Plan Contents, Rail Joints, Torch Cut, Tie Plates, Rail Fastening Systems, Turnout Track, Continuous Crossing, Generally Switches, Frogs, Spring Rail Frogs, Guarded Frogs, Frog Guarded Rails, and Guard Faces Gauge, Subpart E, Track Appliances, Track Related Devices, Scope, derails, inspection scope, track inspection, automated inspection track constructed with the concrete cross ties, inspection switches, train crossings, lifted rail, assembly, other transition devices, movable bridges, inspection rail, special inspections, inspection records. And that covers up to subpart G, which I'll do in a different section. Appendix A, super elevation, inches, speed, miles per hour, to defective codes, rail, mill, branding, key dimensions, using portable track loading fixtures in non-grade GRSMS territory, CRD, joint bar, fracture report. Textitalic front of this manual is regulatory language which is identified with the paragraph field and for the FRA inspector to identify paragraph is not constructed with the regulatory language in any manner. Alright, Chapter 1, Track Safety Standards, Class 1 through 5. This chapter provides necessary information for the Federal Railroad Inspector to properly apply the track safety standards during the inspection activities of the firm. FRA Inspector is also included the State Inspector participation in the federal program. The manual is not constructed as a modification, alteration, or revision published by the Track Safety Standards. And any legal proceeding instituted against the railroad must be based on the regulations in Title 49 CFR Part 213. Inspectors should refer to the manual often necessary to understand the intent of the particular rule, thereby using the extent practicable national reform application. These rules are intended by the Congress and the Federal Railroad Safety Act of 1970. Inspectors will not, under any circumstances, suggest, correct, or repair track imprudencies, nor will they authorize, suggest, recommend, and any movements over any of the track. Responsibility for these matters rests with the railroad. The inspector will immediately inform the railroad of any track condition not compliant with the track safety standards. This manual is based on the Track Safety Standards published on October 1st, 2012, Electronic Code Federal Regulations, the ECFR, which is July 2014. Inspectors encouraged to provide suggestions and enhancement of the future addition for the manual. Appendix B contains the defective codes for each of the subsections of the regulation. The defective codes are an important analytical tool of the FRA data collection. If the inspector cannot find the defect code corresponding with the violation of track safety standard, the inspector may submit the violation. The chapter addresses the track classes 1 through 5 of the Volume 2, Chapter 2 of this manual addresses classes 6 through 9. Alright, Subpart A, Scope, 213.1, Scope of Part. This prescribes minimum safety requirement that the railroad track with the part of the general railroad transportation in general with the requirements prescribed with the part of the law apply with the specific track conditions existing in isolation. Therefore, combination of the track conditions, not of the individual amount of the deviation requirements of this part may require remedial action to provide the safe operation over the track. The part does not restrict the railroad from adopting and enforcing additional more stringent requirements, but not inconsistent with this part. Guidance is more important to note that the track safety standards are minimum safety requirements are not appropriate for the track maintenance purposes. The VTI final rule of 78 Federal Register 16100 March 13, 2013 added the phrase in general provided with a certain degree of flexibility to encompass the track conditions not necessarily existing in isolation, particularly refers to combined track alignment, surface of deviation contained in Statute 21365. When the track safety standards address specific track conditions that exist for the isolation in general, they can be sometimes a combination of the track conditions, so note the individual amount of the deviation. Track safety standards require remedial acts to provide the safety operation over the track. Section 213.16.5 specifically addresses the combination track condition for the curve of the operation resulting in more than 5 inches can deficiency. The inspector encounters such a condition with the encompassed in Section 213.65. The inspector should also immediately bring the condition and attention for the company with the railroad official explain the hazard such condition occurs with rapid removal. When the inspector is not able to convince the railroad to initiate some action, the inspector should refer to the regional track specialist assistance. 1B, subpart A through F apply with the classes 1 through 5 with the subpart G, 213.2, 213.3, 213.15 apply the track over the trains operated with the speed in excess for those permitted over the class 5 track. Guidance. With the introduction of high-speed passenger trains operation in the nation, the track safety standards revised in 1980 to provide with the two sets of requirements, low speed in class 1 through 5, subpart A through F, and the high-speed class 6 through 9, subpart G. The VTI final rule of 78 file registered 16100 March 13, 2013, further revised in Part 213, mainly supported G. The high-speed standards, including the specific requirements of such operations, which also prescribe the number of the track vehicle interaction testing. Statute 213.3, application 213.15, penalties apply to both high and low-speed tracks. 213.3, application 3A, except for the provided with the paragraph B of this section, the part that applies to all standard gauge track on the general railroad system of the transportation. Paragraph 3A specifically excludes Part 213 track located inside the installation, not part of the general railroad system transportation. Additional language reading the plant trackage can also be found in Title 49 CFR Part 209 Appendix A. Track explain the track owner of any plant railroad track over the which for the general system railroad operates responsible for the condition of the track in the general system railroad. Part 209 Appendix A is not meant to imply with the requirements of the track safety standards, including inspection frequency, recording becoming applicable to plant railroad. Once the general system railroad enters the property, refer to the statement meant to convey the federal railroad intent, but the plant registered railroad should maintain a safe condition of the appropriate portion of the track used by the general system railroad. 3B, the part does not apply with the to track located inside an installation which is not part of the general railroad system of the transportation. 2, used exclusively for rapid transportation or urban area that are not connected with the general railroad system of transportation. The FRA does not have the manpower resource to regularly inspect the track of the industrial installation. However, since the enactment of the Federal Railroad Safety Act of 1970, the Federal Railroad Safety has the statutory authority to issue the emergency order to repair, to discontinue an industrial plant trackage. Should be the FRA that track conditions pose the death or injury or has Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 20901. In other words, the FRA learns of a particular plant railroad is such to despair to pose a safety hazard, death or injury. Plant railroad employee of the railroad employee, a public large FRA has option to exercising authority. The FRA may issue the emergency order directing the plant railroad to discontinue the unit of the track until specified with the repair made. The FRA opinion with the emergency order is sufficient power to ensure the track safety within the plant railroads in condition with the event of the future. 10, with the demonstrate the track safety with the plant's installation should be regulated with the FRA will see to change the track safety regulations accordingly. Because of this policy statement, Appendix A of the Part 209 cannot override some of the track safety standards clearly excludes the plant railroads from each of the 2002 Part 213 track safety regulation. Therefore, requirements of the track safety standards do not apply to the plant railroads. Those operating should use them as a guide to ensure the track are capable of carrying the railroad traffic safely. A particular application policy the FRA expects for the trackers and plant railroad at a minimum Class 1 standard for the segment of the general system train operates in the facility. The FRA expects the subpart D of the geometry and structure requirements does not expect the plant railroad to comply with the inspection frequency requirements intended in the track class. The track safety standards also excludes the urban area of rapid transit systems that are not part of the general railroad system regulation, not intended with the track safety standards applicable to certain rapid transit systems was only connection with the general system. The switch from permanent reshipments of the non-revenue material from the general system. The question concerned with the applicability of the track safety standards must be referred to the regional track specialist who consult with the Office of Safety Assurance Compliance and the Office of Chief of the Council for the guidance concerning the particular entity. 213.4 accepted track. A track owner may be designated a segment of the track as accepted track, provided that the segment 4A the segment is identified as timetable, special instruction, general order, appropriate records with the appropriate available inspection during the regular business hours. Guidance. The intent of this section permitted the portion of the current certain low density main track associated with the R track sidings to be allowed expected to status and does not comply comply with the subpart B, C, D, and E of the track safety standards unless otherwise expressed and stated. However, by designating the track as expected, but the owner must meet with requirements specified in paragraphs 4B through 4F. 4B, a defined segment is not located within 30 feet of the adjacent track, which may be subjected to simultaneously use speed in excess of 10 miles per hour. Guidance: the paragraph prohibits the expected track designation of the track located within 30 feet of the envelope of the track subject to simultaneously use as the speeds excess for 10 miles an hour shown in figure 30. The feet dimension measured between the track center lines apply with the track the envelope of the track converging with the 10 out the rail crossing. Example: the sign to the left of the track operating with greater than 10 miles an hour on the far right may be expected simultaneously using the main means of movement of the car's locomotive to both tracks at the same time. Adjacent means that any of the track proximity to the track question track greater than 10 miles an hour, 13 feet clearance cannot be expected. The 26 foot, 39 foot cannot be expected, and then 39 feet it's 26 feet from the track greater than to the cannot be expected between 13-foot intervals until the 39-foot interval with a 10-mile an hour may be expected. Operation of any of the track within 30 feet of the expected track must be restricted to 10 miles an hour. Physical layout of the track definition, restriction placed for the track owner with the rule of time, special instruction out of the positive instruction, order of the criteria provided with the positive trains in the higher speed track action with the collision with the following the equipment, the potential derailment, the expected track. The term train is defined in Title 49 CFR 236-832. Locomotive more than one locomotive coupled with or without car. The definition apply with the rules designation. Expected track need only to record with the train order. Implemented insurance appropriate instruction effective employed. Specification need not to be filed with the operator. The track safety standards does not specify with such employees that the railroad track owner must not notify the expected track destination. However, in order to ensure maximum safety and compliance with the requirements of this part, the FAA recommends that the railroad of the track owner notify all employees who are involved with the operation of the train's engineering and function expected at track. 4C, the identifying the segment inspected with accordance with the statute 213-233C and 213-235 at the frequency specified in Class 1. Guidance 213.5 provides that the railroad may continue with the train operation of the track segment its designated expected track without complying with subpart B, C, D, and E of the Part 213. However, the railroad must comply with the inspection requirements contained in subpart F of the track segment designated with the specific track. The railroad must inspect the track in accordance with the statute 213-233C and 213-235 with the frequency specified with the Class 1 failure to comply with each result violation lost expected track privilege until the inspection requirements specified in the paragraph are met. 4D, in identifying the segment of the track is not located with the bridge, including the track approaching the bridge of 100 feet of either side located in the public street or highway that the railroads contain the commodities required with the black card with the hazardous material regulation, Title 49 CFR 172, that move over the track, and in the application paragraph of the public street highway that's defined with the roadway open with the public and owned with the maintained with the public. Any of this paragraph includes both crossing public roadways at the grade and longitudinal running of the track, extending distance of the public roadway street trackage. Under statute 214.7 of the railroad bridges defined and fails one of the railroad bridges any structure supporting one or more railroad tracks with a span of 12 feet more than measured along with the track center with the term of the bridge shall apply with the entire structure between the face of the back walls, abutments, equivalents of components regardless of the number of the spans. The term shall include the structure within the timber, stone, concrete, metal, or a combination thereof. 4E, the railroad conducts operation with the identified segment under the following condition: no train shall be operated at the speed of excess of 10 miles per hour. No occupied passenger train shall be operated. No freight train is either shall be operated with contains more than 5 cars required with the black card with the hazard material regulation, Title 49 CFR Part 172. The gauge expected of the track should not be more than 4 foot 10 and a quarter inches. The paragraph E of this 4 is applicable to September 21st, 1996. Guidance in the reference to the E1 and through E4 of the well-documented pattern with repeated with the widespread deviation for the requirement of the track owner, including the train operations exceeding 10 miles an hour with effective termination privilege afforded with this section. The affected train will become the subject of all track safety standards. The word occupied in the E2 with refers to the paying and non-paying passenger. It does not include the train crew, the train maintenance crew, the railroad employees who must travel over the track to attend to the work duties. The gauge requirement will only apply to the actual measurement under the load. It does not extend to the evaluation cross-size fasteners provided with the gauge resistance and In case of non-compliance with the gauge measurement expected with the track, the railroad may invoke the statute 213.9 with remedial action C213.9B for the restriction 4F. The track owner shall be provided for the appropriate FRA regional office delays 10 days prior to the removal of the segment of the track expected status guidance. The railroad track owner is required to notify the appropriate FRA regional office 10 days before the removal of the track with expected status. The railroad may not move the track on an expected non-expected status to operate occupied passenger train or train containing no more than 5 cars black order in accordance with Title 49 CFR Part 122 unless proper notification procedure is followed. Inspectors will continue inspecting and expected with the report of the inspection of the F618096 form. The serious deficiency discovered that will show the inspection noting the track inspected status. The railroad and the track owners would not be legally obligated to, by the track safety standards, correct the deficiency noted except for the gauge deviations except of 4 foot 10 and a quarter inches or 213 defect code 0053B5. However, the condition of the track continues to the hazard lift of the limit and track owner with fails to alleviate the hazard. Inspector shall notify the regional track specialist immediately, and the issuance of the emergency order will be appropriate to address any serious defects for the posed immediately safety threat to the railroad employees, the public. Notification provision intended to prevent the practice of the FRA witness and pass with the sum of the railroad special. Those who remove the track with expected success only long enough to move the passenger excursion train and the train more than 5 cars containing the hazardous material. The following examples are provided with the inspector to determine the compliance with the provision of expected track. The example 1, on January 15, 2014, the railroad designated 2-mile segment railroad track number 1 class 1 track. Expected track. The expected segment is located within 25 feet of the adjacent track over the which the simultaneously operation speed of 20 miles an hour authorized on January 25, 2014. An inspector discovered the 5 locations in the segment which class 1 gauge requirements are not being met. Rail segment of the yard track of the number 1 involved with the ineligible designation expected with the track because of the violation 213.4 with the simultaneously use of the restriction of the segment remains the provision of the track safety standard class 1. The FRA may cite the correction violation deviation of the track safety standard discovered with the segment such as a 5 gauge defect. The railroad must be cited with the FRA inspector discretion. The violation of the statute 213.4b will be included with the substantive defect gauge alignment and cross ties as the remedial action. Railroad may authorize the train operation not to exceed 10 miles an hour speed restriction to include all the tracks in 30 feet adjacent to the expected tracks and effects of removing simultaneously using provisions. Example 2, the railroad designated yard track number 6 with the classified class 1 track, except with the track on November 30th, 2013. The railroad does not conduct an inspection over the track during December. Result of the yard track number 6 is the loss of the eligibility destination expected with the track January 1st, 2014 remains ineligible. Therefore, an inspection required with the statute 213.4 begins. Starting January 1st, 2014, the track becomes subject to all the provision of the track safety standard remains subject to those requirements until such time inspection becomes the violation citation arising with the inadvertent violation inspection requirement that ordinarily should be issued only where the safety is impaired with the evidence continuity and non-compliance. In contrast with the violation definitional to statute 213.4a through d, the requirements of the unit violation not complying with the operational limitations is the train where referring to the occasional inadvertent non-compliance to operational limitations. A persistent, well-documented pattern of non-compliance with respect to particular segment may cause the railroad to lose the privilege designation segment of each expected track. The track will no longer qualify for such designation over the force of the use of the drastic enforcement remedies such as the emergency order. The following examples illustrate the concept. The example 3. Railroad properly designated the track segment expected with the track with a 10 days lateral operates with the freight train containing the 10 placard 10 cars over the track segment. Result 1 violation statute 213.4e3 of the railroad has occurred not 5 because of the unit violation train referring rather than each of the placard exceeding the 5 car limit. The segment contains not to be expected with the track because of the violation of operational limitation does not render the track ineligible for the expected track status. Example 4. Railroad properly designates one of the track segments expected with the track railroad beats freight train 2425 using segment pursuant to the trackage right agreement. The railroad A operates for the segment that speeds 20 miles an hour. Well, one violation has occurred 213.4e2 for the railroad A. The track owner is responsible party legal operation over the expected track. The segment continues the expected track. Alright, 213.5. Responsibility and compliance. Except for the provided in paragraph B of the section and owner of the track in which for the part applied for the notice for the does not comply with requirements for this part shall bring the track into compliance, halt the operation over the track, operate the authority under the designation under the statute 213.7a with at least 1 year supervisor experience of the railroad track maintenance for the subject conditions set forth in part of the guidance. The paragraph described the action must be taken with the railroad track owner once they know that they have notice of knowledge and standard of the track is not compliance with the track safety standard. The track owner owner must bring the track into compliance with either repairing the track defects, imposing the appropriate speed restriction, move the track and the surface disallowing the train operations, operate the under authority qualified person designated in Statute 213.7a in accordance with one of the following provision: 213.9b with the class of the track, a 30-day provision; 213.11 restoration renewal of the track under track conditions; 213.11.3 the rail defects for additional information concerned with required corrective action defects. See the guidance of the Statute 213.9 with the class of the track, operating speed. 5b if the owner of the track of which the part applies designates the segment track expected with the track under provisions 213.4 of the operation may continue over the track, complying with the provisions subpart B, C, D, and E unless otherwise expressly stated. The guidance the owner may designate the track expected provided meets the requirements of Statute 213.4 with the F5C if the owner of the track which parts apply with the assigns responsible for the track to another person at least otherwise when notification assignment shall be provided with the appropriate FRA regional office at least 30 days in advance. If the assignment notification may be made as the part of the assignment shall be made in written, including the following: the name and address of the track owner, the name, address of the person who is responsible, the assigner or assigner, the statement of exact relationship between the track owner and the assigner, the precise identification of the track, the statement of the competency of the ability of the assigner to carry out the details of the track owner under this part, statement assigned by the assigner, the acknowledgement of the assignment to himself, the responsibility, purpose of compliance with this part. Part C, paragraph 5C, which requires the track owner to notify the FR through the appropriate regional office responsible compliant with the part assigned with another notification must contain the specific information required for the paragraph. Shall be notified in 30 days being made before the assignment of the responsibility. FD of the assignment administrator holds the track owner with the assignment both responsible for compliant with the part of the subject for penalty with the statute 213.15. Where the track is not owned by the operating railroad through the arrangement of such lease agreement, typically the operating railroad will be cited the violation. However, the appropriate recommended civil penalties against the operating railroad owner of the both parties contributed to the deficiency. The inspector must determine the responsible party for the recommending civil penalties and non-compliance with the alert of the FRA chief of the council violation reports involving the parties on the track owner. Paragraph also provides the party responsible for compliance can be either in the other actual owning track through the assignment of the responsibility to serve the Transportation Board, formerly Interstate Commerce Commission, that has issued the directly service board order of the FRA has been responsible to partially contracted the track owner with the ensure the compliance with the part of the FRA may hold the track owner and assigner both responsible. Alright, FE, the carrier of the railroad with the director with the service of the Transportation Board provided with the service of the track owner and another railroad under Title 49 U.S. Standard Code of 11123. Consider the owner of the track of the purpose of the application for the part during the period of direct service order the remains in effect. Guidance on rare occasions such as necessitation of the service by the railroad, service of the Transportation Board directs the railroad other than the track owner provided the service of the designated operator shall consider it as an owner purpose of compliance with the track safety standards F5F. When a person, including the contractor or railroad track owner, performs any function required for this part, that person required to perform the function in accordance with this part. Guidance: both employees, railroad and track owners, contractors, railroads are subject to the requirements of the track safety standard when they perform functions required by the track safety standards. 213.7 the designation qualified persons who provide certain renewals and inspection track. Each of the track owner which parts apply that shall designate the qualified person to supervise the restoration renewal of the track under the traffic conditions. Each person designated shall have at least 1 year of supervisor experience in the railroad track maintenance, a combination supervisor experience with the track maintenance training with the course and track maintenance with the college level educational program related to the track maintenance, demonstrated for the owner he or she knows the understanding requirements of the part that apply to the restoration and renewal of the track for which he is responsible. He can detect the deviation for these requirements, can prescribe appropriate remedial actions, correct safety, compensate for the deviations. 3 written authorization track owner is responsible for the remedial action to carry out the safely compensate the deviation requirements for this part. Sub 7b each for the track owner with the power supply shall designate the qualified person to inspect the track of the defects. Each of the person shall designate she shall have at least 1 year of experience with the railroad track inspection, combination experience, track inspection training with the course and track inspection college level education program related to track inspection, demonstrated for the owner he or she knows to understand the requirements of the part apply to the inspection of the track which he or she is responsible, can detect deviation with requirements, and can prescribe appropriate remedial action to correct the safety, compensate for the deviation. Written authorization to track owner prescribe the remedial action to correctly, safely compensate the deviation requirements for this part pending on the review of the qualified person designated under paragraph A of this section. Guidance. Inspector requests for the verification experience with qualifications to provide the track personnel with the track owner submission of the seniority roster job. The award bulletin is not to be considered satisfactory. Identification qualified employees based for their designation. The owner shall make a specific name, individual qualification available. The wiring into the inspector is doubt with the qualification owner, the supervisor, inspection personnel. But the inspector should examine the owner inspection record of the track. Safety standards require the retention of the track inspection reports of every 1 year. Should the record consistently fail to reflect the actual track condition, the question is raised for compensating of the qualification of the person included in the list. Paragraphs A2.1 and B2.1 clarify the requirements of the person qualified under the section concerned with the part of 213 necessary for the person to perform his or her duty. The person not required of knowing how to understand the specific requirements of the part not necessary to fulfill his or her duties. For example, to act foreman inspection for the may be required for known to understand the vehicle qualification testing requirements for the higher deficiency operation class 1 to 5 in fulfilling their duties. When doubted the qualification of the owner, supervisor, inspector should discuss the matter of the railroad. 17. Individuals designated under paragraph A and B of the section inspection continuous well of the rail track supervising installation adjustment with the maintenance of the continuous well of the rail track in accordance with the written procedure of the track owner shall have one current qualification under paragraph A and B of the section successful completed with the comprehensive training specifically developed for the application of the written continuous well of the rail procedure issued with the track owner demonstrated with the track of the owner individual knows to understand the requirements of the written continuous well of the rail procedure can detect deviation from those requirements, can prescribe appropriate remedial action to correct and safely compensate with the deviation. Written authorization track owner prescribe remedial action to correct, safely compensate the deviation requirements of the procedure successful completed with the record examination and procedure as part of the qualification process. Guidance. The continuous well of the rail has the characteristics inherent of the different with the traditional joint rail. Track owners are required to designate the individual specifically qualified to inspect, supervise installation, adjustment, maintenance of the continuous well of the rail. In addition to qualification, individuals must have their own paragraph A and B of the individual designation on paragraph C of the must have complete with the continuous well of the training course and the well reverse the maintenance continuous well of the rail track as detailed with the track on the continuous well of the rail plan with the comprehensive nature of the training course is more important with the duration. Therefore, the railroad employee must successfully complete and for that initial training course of the track owner written with the continuous well of the procedure continues subsequent period of retraining. Therefore, pursuing the train program required of the statute 213-343G with an additional with the individual qualified on the continuous well rail train operation most successfully completed record examination of the track owner with the continuous well of the rail procedure. Record examination may be the example of the traditional written examination electronic file with computerized interactive training course that concludes the examination record supervisor oral test employees acknowledge through the practical field application due to the language of the regulation track owner the flexibility it has test individual knowledge and one previously stated method. However, there should be noted that the result of the examination must be recorded so that the FRA may be inspected with the basis of the qualification individual under paragraph C. 7D person not qualified to supervise certain renewal of the inspection of the track required with the paragraph A through C of the section at least 1 year with the maintenance of the way with the signal experience may pass the train over the broken rails as part of the approved. The track owner determined the person qualified as part of doing so of the train examination or examine the person periodically 2 years each for the examination following top of the relay of the safe passage of the train over the broken pull rails of the whole parts rail identification cross tie condition of the tracks up with the alignment of gauge restraint the rail and mismatched joint bars maximum distance between the rail ends for which the train must be allowed to pass the sole purpose examination certification. Personal ability to effectively apply the requirements examination may not be used to disqualify a person from their duties. Minimum of 4 hours training was required for the initial training. 2. The person deems to safely train at the speed limited maximum 10 miles an hour over the broken rail of the pull part. The person will watch the movements over the broken rail of the pull part when prepared to stop when the train is necessary. Person involved fully authorized with the statute 237 notify the dispatch location promptly with the purpose of authorizing movement affecting temporary and permanent repairs. The guidance of the part D allows the employees to be qualified specific purpose for the authorization train movements over the broken rails and pull the parts of the section requires the employees to have at least 1 year of the maintenance way signal experience and minimum of 4 hours of the pull list examination periodic re-examination with 2 years each of each of examination requirements related to safety passenger trains over the broken rails the pull parts the purpose of the examination association of the person ability to effectively apply these requirements the railroad you may use the examination to determine whether the person should be allowed to authorize the train movements over broken rails or pull parts the maximum speed over the broken rails pull apart shall not exceed 10 miles per hour with the movement authorized by the person qualified with the subsection for the restricted speed if warranted with the particular circumstance the person qualified with the person paragraph must be present with maybe at the site and able to instantly communicate with the train crew so that the movement can be stopped immediately if necessary. Fully qualified person under statute 213 7 must be notified dispatch of location properly assured of the responsibility following the train movement affecting repairs. The word promptly means to provide with the railroad flexibility to pass the train over the condition prior to the fully qualified person fully would report to the scene. Railroads may permit a person unqualified in the past to 213.7D to authorize the multiple train movements over such conditions, but the person qualified in statute 213.7D must examine the broken rail, pull it apart initially before each subsequent movement to ensure the location is safe for the passage of the next train. Alright, 7E, with respect to designation under the paragraphs A and D of the section, each of the track owners shall maintain a written record of each of the designations. In fact, the base of each of the designation track inspection made to each of the designation qualified as person required in the statute 213-241. These required shall be available the inspection copy of the Federal Railroad Administration during railroad business hours. Guidance. Failure owner to have the maintenance of the written record of the designation employee of the basic designation for the deviation of the track safety standards and complete qualification records will also constitute the deviation from the standards. Designated employees include supervisor and inspector of those partially qualified to pass and train over the broken rail and pole parts. Pictures also ensure the note of the incomplete and qualified record of not reflecting actual qualification individual. As such, the record deficiency should not be the sole basis for the defective civil penalty recommendation. Not having qualified designation person perform these functions if the question of the qualification individual will be necessary for the inspector to interview the railroad contractor employees. Statute 213.9, classes of the track operating speed limits except for provided by paragraph B of section 213.57B and 213.59B, 213.113A, and 213.137B and C. The following maximum allowable operating speeds apply. Over the tracks with the requirements prescribed in this part, accepted tracks maximum speed of 10 miles an hour. Not applicable to passenger trains. Class 1 tracks, maximum speed of 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour is passenger train. Class 2 tracks, 25 miles an hour freight train, 30 miles an hour passenger train. Alright, Class 3 track, 40 miles an hour freight train, 60 mile passenger train. Over the track, Class 4, maximum speed 60 miles an hour freight train, 80 miles an hour passenger train. Class 5 track, 80 miles an hour freight train, 90 miles an hour passenger train. Alright, the guidance. The track safety train tracks solely on the base of authorized speed with the freight with the passenger train. The tolerance should specify the track safety train. Each for the track, each class deviation beyond each of the limiting the tolerance class 1 through 5 requires the repair reduction speed for the appropriate class. Only structural geometry defective applicable expected track gauge exceeding 1 4 foot 10 and a quarter inch of the initial speed of each for the track with based on the design track characteristic track with evaporated design speed. Railroads are required to keep the track in compliance with requirements of Part 213. In addition, with the track design where characteristic speeds may be set other track factors such as the type of the signal apparatus maximum speed is also limited if the signal system is not placed on the track of the refer to the title 49 CFR 236 for the information. If the deviation exceeds class 1 operates within may continue but no more than 30 days old, the deviation not exceeding class 1 speed the only limited other person designation qualified provision 213.7A determines the operation may be safely continue specified limit in qualification conditions that if any of the designation person must personally see and evaluate the deviation section must also govern the deviation exceeding the allowable gauge for the accepted track. As described in paragraph A, the minimum allowable operation speed for each of the class of tracks shall be shown in the table. However, the maximum allowable operation speed for the curve is also limited to geometry parameters of the statute 213.57B with unbalanced in statute 213.59A super elevation. For example, the speed of the passenger train based on the evaluation of the curve may only be 18 miles an hour, even though the track may otherwise comply with the higher speed track class. The rules provided with the railroad track and owner additional flexibility resolving defective conditions using rails over the track arm loose of the frog bow over the several wood or seldom constitute immediately hazard provided with the frog otherwise secure. On the other hand, missing cotter pin with a critical location such as the connection rod could have serious consequences. One or two loose braces are usually considered the immediate hazard provided with the other braces applicable functional condition with the support of the stock rail. On the other hand, serve the second of the loose braces, especially higher track classes, could be much more serious. Intermittent patches of vegetation, brush sides of the rolling stock may be on immediate hazard, but severe regular vegetation might have potential contribution injury to employee riding on the side of the car, looking out of the locomotive cab, the windows. Specific description of the type of the effective vegetation brushing sides of the rolling stock prevents employee visual inspection moving the equipment from their normal duty station. Statute 213, defect code 0037E3. Alright, it's above the example to illustrate the non-classified, non-class specific defect, non-associated particular track classification must be considered with the content of the specific circumstance of the existing non-class specific defect under the circumstances may not be serious, but in the identical condition under the circumstances may constitute serious safety concern. Although some of the non-class specific defects may not be present in the immediate hazard, these conditions only degrade onto the train traffic. Therefore, important for the railroad and track owner, the FRA inspector, to record the defects and remedial corrective action in summary. Record all the non-compliant conditions, including the non-class specific details, such as the loose or missing frog bolt, switch, and brace of the carrier must be taken to conduct a thorough inspection, recording location, type, and size of each of the defects discovered. Evaluating the remedial action taken by the carrier, the inspector becomes aware of the remedial action lack of their non-class specific detect non-sufficient based on the circumstances. The inspector should seek the more appropriate action with the carrier. The non-class specific defects of the imminent hazard, such as missing on the connection route. The inspector should immediately inquire the remedial action plan with the carrier. If the railroad does not initiate the appropriate remedial action, the inspector should consider the recommended violation. If the railroad shall advise the violation and have the recommended but not initiated appropriate remedial action, the inspector should be prepared special notice for the repair of the guidelines described in Chapter 4 of this manual. Chapter 4. In case of non-specific defect that does not impose the immediate hazard when the defect was recorded, the inspector discovers no action taken with the responsible time over the carrier has knowledge of the defect. The inspector should consider the enforcement uptime options described in 3 above, and in case no appropriate action was taken 30 days prior, the inspector should consider enforcement tools outlined above. When the railroad inspector discovers a non-class specific defect with as well as all defects, the railroad inspector must immediately in action in accordance with the statute 213, 233D. The remedial action of the rail inspector must direct accordance with the statute 213, 241. For non-class specific defects, the records must show the responsible exact explanation for the action. For example, they repaired before the next train that appropriate for the service condition. On the other hand, notation of the defection of the vegetation may indicate the schedule of the condition, or the weed move specify the dates for 30 days may appropriate. When railroad representative placed slow order of the segment track of the defect with immediately corrective action, any other item that flows order of the segment of the protective, for example, the FRA inspector finds the defect of the milepost 5.5 of the railroad, immediately places the slow order of the 5 milepost 5.0 to 5 to 6. During this same inspection, the FRA inspector also finds a condition at 5.8 that would be the defective without speed, restriction the defective 5.8 is under the slow order and imposed the obviously defective placement of temporary restriction the FRA inspector recorded defect milepost 5.8. A non-class specific defect may not impose immediate hazard over the one train movement, but the condition deteriorate become with a hazard the following train that is responsible to expect the condition to lose the missing frog bolt brace of the repair quickly as possible. However, the qualified railroad representative under statute 213.7 may determine that the condition must not immediately has to decide all the current call of the resistance making the repair of the responsible. The representative may decide at the end of the inspection retrieve the necessary repair material return later to make the repair. In some cases, the representative may determine the speed restriction inappropriate when no non-class specific defects are scheduled with repair. Railroad inspector shall continue the report of defects inspection repair or until corrected. However, the 30-day limit of the aim with given the direction defective condition can be exceeded. 9B. If the segment of the track does not meet all the requirements intended for the class, it is reclassified to the next lower class, for which it does not meet all the requirements for the class. If however, the segment does not at least meet the requirements of Class 1 track, the operation continues with Class 1 speed for the period of no more than 30 days without bringing the track into compliance on the authority of the person designated in Statute 213.7a, as relates one with the supervising experience with the rail track maintenance after the person demonstrates the operation of the safely continues subject to any limitation conditions specified with such person. Against the track segment must meet all the requirements of the designated class, but the track segment does not meet all the requirements of the railroad. One can reclassify the segment in the next lowest class for the compliance with, for example, the class 3, where the alignment mid-chord offset with the 62-foot chord tangent measured 2 inches for the railroad can elect to reduce the speed equivalent to class 2 track. Trains may continue to operate non-compliant with the conditions of Statute 213.9b, however, the 30-day limit of any of the conditions cannot be exceeded. The 30-day period that commences the FRA inspector notified the carrier and issued the notice for the F6180964 form. Person designated under Statute 213.7 record the defect the track owner records of the inspection notified the substandard condition of the receipt of the third party the track owner to team the consecutive knowledge of the defects were discovered through the properly performed track inspection required for the track safety, even if the defects are not required or ordered on the owner's record inspection. Several other points concerning the SG 213.1, 213.9b should be noted, but the apparent picture should not attempt the periodic and exact date of the subclass 1. The defects of first existed. In most cases, the reasonable explanation accompanying the explanation for the basis for the inspection conclusion will be sufficient to show that the SG 213.9b is not available to the track owner because of the serious enforcement problems presented with the application consecutive knowledge test. Inspectors should use the authority of the judiciously. Once the determination has been made, the operation may continue over the segment. The 30-day period applied for the subclass 1 with the defects present with the segment at the time. The 30-day period of appropriate remedial action for subclass 1 defects of the 30-day period can only be applied one time. At an expiration of the 30-day period, the defects must be repaired, tracks replaced, and the expeditious track status for the track must be removed from service. Limiting condition. Any plate for the operation must be informally generally use the track owner to operate the operating restriction of the personnel and any other railroad authorized the track involved with the train operating with the track failed to comply with such condition. One violation statute 213.9 but the track owner occurred with regard to identify the operation of the train. Statute 213.9b does not operate the defective rails involved with the statute 213.113 exclusive of governing the further operation of one defective rails. The following table shows the example of the section of the track safety standard for the class-specific specified speed-defined non-class-specific table is not all-inclusive and is only reference instrument. Inspectors should refer to the specific guidance under each of the section for their detailed instruction on each of the listed table. Drainage is non-class-specific. Vegetation is non-class-specific. Curves and elevation speed limitation via E-max is speed-defined. Ballast general. Non-class-specific. Cross ties not effectively distributed. Non-class-specific. Gauge registry rate measurement system class specific. Defect of rails not speed defined. Continuous welded rail general non-class specific. Each rail joint, insulated joint, compromising joint shall be structurally sound design dimension of the rail on which it is applied. Non-class specific. If the joint bar is cracked or broken between the middle of two bolts, if shown, replace. Class specific. In case of the conventional joint track, each of the rails is bolted with at least one bolt of the class 1 class specific. In any case of the continuous welded rail track, in each which will be bolted with at least two bolts in each of the class specific 3. Or each of the joint bars shall be held in position, track bolts and tighted to allow the joint bar to firmly support the bolt abutting rail ends. Non-class specific. Rail fastening non-class specific. Turnouts and track crossing generally non-class specific. Class 3 through 5 shall be equipped with anchors on each of the track crossing on the turnouts class specific. Each of the flaneway turnout on the tracks crossing shall be at least 1 1/2 inches wide class specific. Each of the stock rails must be securely seated in switch places non-class specific. Each switch point shall be fit in the stock rail speed defined. Each of the switch shall be maintained so that the outer edge of the wheel tread cannot be contained with the gate side of the stock rail class specific 2. Heel of each of the switch rails shall be secured class specific, non-class specific. Each switch stand with the connection rod securely fastened non-class specific. Each thrower lever shall be maintained so that it can be operated with a lock or the keeper's place non-class specific. Switcher positioning indicator non-class specific. Easily worn chip switch points non-class specific. Tongue and plane mate switches class specific. Frog point shipping broken worn more than 5/8 inches 6 inches back. Operating speed over the frog may be not more than 10 miles an hour. Speed restriction. If the tread portion of the frog casting worn down more than 3/8 of an inch below the original contour, operating speed over the frog may not be more than 10 miles an hour. Speed restriction. The outer edge of the wheel shall not contact the gauge of the spring wing rail of non-class specific. Toe of each of the wing rail shall be solidly tampered, non-class specific. Each frog with a bolt hole defect head for web separation shall be replaced class specific. Each spring shall have compression, non-class specific. The clearance between the hold down is non-class specific. Self-guarded rails is class specific, and derails is non-class specific. I'm going to not read the note for that. I'm going to cut the tape right here at 213.11 restoration renewal of the track on track conditions.